skeptic.
Look,
I want people to be objective. And I think there's a lot of things you should be skeptical of. I think you should look at things from a hardline science perspective. You should be objective. But the idea of skeptics, the problem with that is you're always looking for things to be bullshit.
Yeah.
And I think that's dangerous because I think some things aren't bullshit.
It's confirmation bias on the other end. You're just deciding to take a square thing and put it in a round hole no matter what.
And I find a lot of them to be lazy.
Yeah.
A lot of them to be lazy thinkers.
Sure.
Because they're always putting it into that box instead of going, Instead of just separating their ego, they're playing a game. And the game is calling bullshit. I want to call bullshit, and I'm going to line up all these reasons why it's bullshit, and I'm going to ignore anything that might be contrary to that definition.
Yeah, that does happen.
Every time I'm thinking I'm going to catch him in something, all along this process, I found Dr. Krangle. He came forward and said, I was in security briefings with Bob Lazar, the physicist at Los Alamos. He went on the record with me. Now, the other people I talked with, why won't they go on the record with me? Because they're still working there. So that's the difference, right? What can the public have, right?
Or even if they're not working there, they want to live their lives. Why? I mean, obviously, people have seen what's happened to you.
Mike Thigpen, after 30 years.
Yeah, really.
I found him.
If you look at all the information on, concerning my accounts, that's verifiable. It can't possibly be a bullshit story anymore. It's really way past that point.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was
Mike Thigpen is. I mean, how could I possibly know?
So Mike Thigpen was the guy that did the security clearances to go to the base. One of the guys that was.
And this
used.
is a guy that you worked with.
He said he did.
Right.
And George Knapp, George didn't believe him. George put him through 4 polygraph tests, right? He tried to see, man, this is a big risk. It sounds interesting, but let's see if he's telling the truth. One of the things was, Bob said there's a guy named Mike Thigpen. He did security clearances for the base, and that's a weird name. It's a very specific. For 30 years, George found this guy in this weird department that he didn't even know it was Mike Thigpen. The guy wouldn't talk to me, ghosted him, totally ghosted him for 30 years. Used Facebook and Google Image Match through his children. I was able to find him after 30 years, and I talked to him 3 times on the phone. He lives on the East Coast. He almost went on camera with me. Confirmed that he did security clearances for the base in 1989, confirmed he remembers Bob Lazar, and what you don't know is there's a handwritten note that a friend of yours has from Mike.
What?
I know, I'm going to give it to you later. But that is real. That is actual. So
a handwritten note that says what?
This is new to me.
So when
they do security clearances, they go through all your friends and family.
And they go to your friends and family,
yeah.
So this is to Bob and I had people come to me for a friend of mine that's serving, and they're doing a security clearance for him. And even though I'm like the UFO guy, they did, the FBI will come and visit my house and make sure that they talk about my friend, and they lift a little card. And when my wife told them to get away because she didn't know who they were, they left a little card. It's super cute now. Back then it was a handwritten note, and his friend has it for him that you haven't seen in
oh my God,
2 decades. Shit. So if you're listening,
how come you're telling me this now?
I don't know why I'm telling you.
What is this card?
It's just a little handwritten note with Mike Thigpen's signature.
I mean, a card like a postcard.
Like a piece of paper that he left on the door saying when Bob gets back or whatever it says on it. So it's just another little funny thing. I found the guy. He does the security clearances. He admitted to me he did it, and he admitted to me he was dodging George Knapp because when George said his name on the news, he dropped his fork into his steak or into his potatoes or whatever, and he's looking at his wife. He was in trouble. His name's never supposed to be out there like this. Just a security clearance guy. But you don't want national attention associated with anything Bob has to say. But anyway, this unique name, Bob said, for 30 years, and the guy ghosted George Knapp. George could prove he existed. He actually talked to me, man. He talked to me 3 times. He almost went on camera with me. It's just crazy. What happens after 30 years? You just get more info.
Well, that's one of the reasons why when you and me and Jeremy and George Knapp had that conversation on the phone, I said, I think what we can do with this podcast is important. I really do. I think it's important for people to hear this from you in a very clear, just very concise way. And if you examine all the information that you've said today, if you look at all the things that the detractors have said, if you look at all of the new recent evidence that's coming out and all these really high-level people in the military and the government that are discussing this, it gives you far more credibility than you would have had in the 1980s when this came out.
Fuck yes, you can't ignore his story just because you don't like it anymore.
That's why I thought it was important that you come out and refresh the world's memory and let people know. And like I said, I don't want to say I'm a fan of yours, but I guess I'm a fan of yours. As a human being, I'm a fan of yours. But I've been following you for decades. I've been following the story for decades. I mean,
no kidding.
I have VHS tapes
Bob,
at
like
home.
a lot of the world has.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, anybody that has any sort of a vested interest or just a fascination with UFOs has followed your story, because there's no one else. There's no one else that comes forward. There's some guy who said, I worked underground with the aliens. They shot my hand off. Like, there's a bunch of wacky dudes. They're underground. There's bases. They're shooting lasers through the Earth's crust, and they move them at light speed. There's a lot of those guys. They seem schizophrenic. They seem crazy. They might even be disinformation agents. They might be people that are designed to muddy the waters, which for sure has happened.
People are coming forward, though, now. It's amazing. And by doing this, what you're doing, you're providing an opportunity just for Bob to tell his story. Believe it or not, he can tell his story. It's amazing because more people will come forward now that are involved with these projects. They'll come forward to you, to me. They're coming forward. And so what you've done here is provide that opportunity if they need it. And it's amazing. I just want to say, Bob,
don't come forward to me.
No, don't come forward to Bob. Why were you freaking nauseous at the beginning of this, so upset? Why'd you have a migraine? Because that started off so hard. My God, I was sitting here did this.
Well, why are you asking him why? It's
because
obvious. Anxiety. The guy's gone through 30 fucking years of being persecuted. They've erased his birth certificate.
I just want to hear him. What do you want to hear from him? I want to hear him say. I want them to hear him.
Why do I have to say that?
You don't.
Joe just said
we get it.
I step out.
Okay. Settle down. Yeah, I get it. It was hard for you to get him here, and I appreciate.
It was hard for us.
You did a lot more than me.
What really annoys me are the people that think, you guys just came up with the story to make a bunch of money or get a bunch of, attention. And
that's a good point. So please explain that. You've
first
never
of all,
made any
I don't
money
get
off of this.
any money out of this at all. And I didn't even let you guys buy plane tickets for me to come out here or anything. I mean, anytime, like when Jeremy previewed, I guess, the movie up in Michigan. I mean, it brought in like a couple $1,000s. I made sure that $2,000 went to science programs at the local high schools there.
It's dirty money. He doesn't want to touch it.
I don't take any money from this stuff. And as far as attention, I hate fucking attention. I don't like being on shows. I just want to kind of hide in the corner